Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's Solution Spotlight. I'm just going to give it a couple of beats for folks to trickle in, and then I will ultimately get started. It's always interesting, like at the start of these webinars, Susan, I don't know if you've ever felt this way, where it's just like you're waiting for people to come in, and then there's that empty space, and it can be really peaceful how some folks just let it happen. I am not that person. It's always like, what can I do to fill it in? But I know that it's my own anxiety. Yeah. Well, cool. That brings us to 11:02 local time. So I'm going to get started. Welcome to today's Solution Spotlight, the Authenticity Advantage, digital marketing that converts. My name is Sarah Williams. I am XYPN's Senior Partnerships Operations Manager. And joining me today is Susan Armstrong, who is Head of Marketing at CION Investment and Advisor.io. So and to bring us all on the same page, to get us all aligned, I just want to start off by saying really what brings us here today. And I think it is just this mission that we're all collectively on. And XYPN is really on this mission to empower and provide financial advisors with the tools, expertise, resources needed to deliver comprehensive client-centric wealth management services, which is why we at XYPN have partnered with Advisor.io, not just for today, but in our actual membership. And Advisor.io is a content marketing platform and coaching system for the independent financial advisor. And together, this partnership ensures advisors such as yourself can provide prospects and clients with the information they need when it comes to their finances, which is just so important in today's modern society. And today's session, Susan is going to walk us through how modern clients find and choose their advisors and how you can meet them where they are. She'll share a proven digital funnel to help turn prospects into clients, tips for creating content that actually connects, that actually lands, and smart strategies to grow your audience and get more out of every post. Before I do turn it over to Susan, and I will, I promise, in a very couple short moments, there are some housekeeping items that I'm just going to review with you. So, Susan's going to have her presentation, her information that she's going to share with us. And as she does, questions are sure to come up. So, for you, if those questions do arise during the presentation at all, please do drop them in that Q&A tab that is probably at the very bottom of your webinar screen, at that Zoom screen. So just drop them there, and Susan will answer them at the very end of her presentation. And secondly, there are some upcoming events that XYPN is going to host. Next week, June 10th, there's another solution spotlight coming your way, streamline client onboarding, how to create a frictionless experience using FP Pathfinder, Wealthbox, and Right Capital. Those are also XYPN partners. And then on June 11th, there is going to be another webinar hosted by XYPN's very own Tony Williamson, director of XYPN Books, and Rhonda Moore, who is also on XYPN Books, Senior Sales and Onboarding Manager. And that webinar is going to be about financial clarity, mastering the numbers that drive your advisory practice. And last but not least, it would not be an XYPN webinar if this wasn't mentioned. XYPN Live is going to be in Austin, Texas, September 25th to the 27th. Susan said that she just booked her hotel, and there is a bunch of stuff that's going on that weekend as well, as we're also hosting XYPN Live. So it really just creates this beautiful synergy with all of the community, the really live events that are going on, just everything all at once. It's going to be amazing. It's my favorite time of year, and I hope to see you there. All right, that is it from me. Susan, I will let you take over.
Great. Thank you, Sarah, very much. And thanks everybody for joining. We are Advisor.io, started by CION Investments about 6 years ago, and we have been a preferred provider with XYPN for 5 years. And so we've kind of grown along with, at least half of our membership is XYPN members. And so some of the things that we've done, we've learned from XYPN, which is like the community-based focus that XYPN always has with advisors. We've structured Advisor.io to be very community-centric, and we really appreciate for all of you that are already XYPN members, how important that is. So just wanted to say that up front. One of the things that Advisor.io does is provides content and coaching for advisors. We've always done this. We've stuck to our mission all the way through. We fit into a very burgeoning landscape of marketing automation providers in the way that we want to be the lowest cost, highest value provider. And we've always seen the way to do that is by just creating very authentic content that speaks with an advisor's voice and always puts the investor, the client first. So we want to present the advisor as the expert. It's never clickbaity. It's not something that is scary or anything like that. Our view is that clients are smart, they know what they need, and they know what they don't know. And so reaching out to an advisor is always about making a connection. And that's kind of where the authenticity advantage comes in. We've been fairly successful in that. And actually recently we're just recognized by the wealthmanagement.com Wealthies Industry Awards. We are a finalist for marketing automation. That was just announced yesterday. So without further ado, let's get into it. I call this presentation the authenticity advantage because essentially digital marketing tools have evolved to the place where they are so simple that the way that you should be using them is always to put yourself first. So using them to just streamline communications, using them to make sure that you're connecting in ways that resonate with your clients and prospects. So get started. Okay. We all know there's a major opportunity right now. There's a lot of volatility in the marketplace. Money moves around when this happens, not a surprise. That's also coupled with the fact that a lot of money in general is moving to younger generations. So in this kind of an environment, where should your marketing be? And that is whether you're focused on retirement, whether you're focused on younger generations, it's always about making connections between yourself, between the products that you're representing, and the people that you're building portfolios for. So how does marketing do that? You build brand awareness. You use your marketing to continually reach out and strengthen relationships, and ultimately for sales. A little bit of how marketing influences things. It's mobile now, right? 75% increase in mobile searches for financial advisors. 30% of Americans use social media for financial advice and not just FinTalk. And 65% of millennials, that generation that's going to be inheriting all the money, are also using social media. 60% of people won't recommend a product if your website isn't great, right? And that's a mobile thing. So it used to be like desktop, probably my generation and up, big decisions require the desktop. Younger generations make these decisions on mobile. You need to be there. Okay, we know that mass affluent and high net worth also really want their advisors to be accessible to them. The easiest way to be accessible without a face-to-face conversation is social media. Okay, unpacking the digital funnel. A lot of you have probably already seen the funnel, have some idea of it. It really does work, and we're just going to kind of get into what those phases are, what you should be doing at each phase, what kind of content you're going to be creating, and how to move from, most important, how to move down from awareness to consideration to purchase. So how we do this, it's 4 simple steps. First, it's your foundation. Your foundation is always you, right? It's your value prop. Who do you serve? Why do you serve them? And then it's making sure that you've created your front door, your website, that's speaking to your niche. If you're not niche down, it's making sure that your website explains that and speaks to why you're not niche down. Then you move into creating the content you need, which is thinking through who your customers are, what resonates with them, how do you get it out there in the world? And then number 4, how do you know that it's working? Okay. Only 28% of advisors have a defined marketing strategy, but advisors that have one see 168% more leads per month. So the defined marketing strategy, pretty important. What is a defined marketing strategy? Let's get into it. As I said before, the first thing is your value prop. Who do you serve? Why do you serve them? Usually for advisors, when we talk to them and we sort of get in how they're building their practice, there's some personal connection. People who serve military veterans generally often have served in the military. People who are looking at that mid-career professional usually kind of have clients who look like them, 35 to 45, young kids, things like that. And so that is something that it is important to have on your website to understand who you serve. And then what problems do you solve? Like, are you focused on employee stock options? Are you focused on people who have two careers but need more flexibility? Making sure that you understand what you do and who you're drawing to you is really important. And then also, why should someone choose you over a competitor? This is the hardest thing that when we talk to advisors to get to. And it isn't really important for you to know when you're out there and you're talking to clients, you're always in your mind thinking through with that, and this is the authenticity part, that confidence that what you are doing is right for your clients. Okay, who are your clients? What do they know about you? What do they need? What life stage are they in? Do you match the life stage that your clients are in? Or do you have expertise to guide them through that life stage? Who gets value from what you offer? And most importantly, where's the overlap? So if somebody needs something, you have something to offer, how are you showing them that you're the right person for that? And then how you wrap this all in, it is always about building a narrative, connecting emotionally, and that's what you do through your website, through your choice of what you show them, through your choice of what you feature on social, and that's where having a marketing plan that lets you just sort of automatically reach for these things is important. Okay, your website isn't just a business card anymore. It really is how people get into you. So your digital impression, you want your website to have your value prop front and center, who you serve, why you serve them. You want to be thoughtful about your bio. You want to tell people who you are. You want to tell people what you're interested in. It's not just about your credentials or your experience, it's about your life. People hire financial advisors because they trust them and they know that you'll be there. So thinking about the key points for you, whether that's golf or dogs or you're married and have kids, those are really important things to include. Design and accessibility are super, super important now. We know it's easy to build a website. It's harder to understand if you are really connecting with people. And the best way to do that is make sure that it's simple, clear, and make sure that it looks good on mobile. So optimizing your website for mobile is critical, right? 49% of financial services phone leads come from organic mobile because we're all not just laying in bed at night on Instagram. We're actually doing stuff that we never would have done before that way. You also need to have, and this is one thing that we see advisors don't do often enough, have a lead gen asset on your site, something that you're exchanging value for information so that when someone's coming to your site, they have the option to give you their email and download a guide, an ebook, something like that. Okay, content is where all of this comes to life. So once you know what your value prop is, you know who your audience is, you're tailoring your topics to your audience, and then you're creating content for every stage of the funnel, and we'll get through that. As you're building your website, there are lots of tools you can use to understand what your keywords are and that you're using them in your headers, you're creating meta descriptions, and that you're understanding how to help Google find you. And then search engine optimization is a whole other topic. You don't have to be absolutely at the top of your game with Google Analytics or the Google Search Console, but you do have to understand kind of what your site looks like and that you're creating enough content to help search engines find you and direct people to you. So the funnel, awareness, these are the eye-catching, easy to consume assets. So if you have blogs here and they want to be topics that people are interested in, you have a video series, you want to combine a short video on a blog because we know that when people see a video, they are much more interested. Video converts at a 30% higher rate than just blogs by themselves. If you have a podcast series, you want to put your podcast on your website. If it doesn't have to be consistent in that you have to do it every 2 weeks, but if you have video that you throw up and you refresh every once in a while, or something happens in the market and you film a quick video, that is absolutely going to make people much more, it's going to introduce them to you, and it's going to make them a little bit more sticky and want to be in your site more. Then we move down to consideration. That's, they know who your brand is. The first assets, your podcast series, your video, your blogs, those are all about brand. The next one is newsletters, webinars, ebooks. That's information, where you're providing people with information so that they understand what you do and how you can help them. It's a little bit closer. They already know who you are. Now they want to know, can this person help me? Do they know what they need to know to help me with my problem? And then the final one, purchase. And so that's your pitch deck, your onboarding materials. Do you have a really simple checklist that you guide them through? Do you have something that helps them understand how you're going to help them, like a monthly calendar? These are the things that we go through in the course of a year. Do you have something that quickly outlines what your practice is, what your fees are, how you help people? Those are the kind of assets that you want to have at the bottom of your funnel. The top of funnel. This is, again, I said eye-catching. This is your social media. This is what's on your website. This is, you want it to be visually really interesting. You want to have video that is you talking to the camera, because that's how people are comfortable with you. If you have third-party information, for instance, you see an article that you think is interesting, you're going to put that on social media, but you're going to put your own commentary, your own spin on it. You're going to say things like, hey, I saw this piece, super interesting, but this is my take. So it's always putting yourself in front of the person who's looking at you so they can make a connection to you and help them move down the funnel. The middle of the funnel, this is again introducing your prospect to you as a service provider. So this is, again, you're providing value for information. This is a lead gen tool like an ebook on your site, on a landing page where they're going to put their email address in and download that guide. Those things need to be tactical, easily to consume, and something that is going to provide them with enough information about a topic, but not too much, right? Because somebody who's willing to read a 130-page ebook about taxes is someone who's really motivated to do their own taxes. You want people that want to hire a financial advisor. So at the middle of your funnel, you want to funnel out people that are not motivated for that because they're wasting your time. You want your assets to be very consumable, tactical, and present you as the expert. Bottom of the funnel, this is really meeting automation, emails where you're introducing what you do. You're continually, you know what they're interested in, you know how you can help them, and you're dripping on them to get them in here. Okay, what does this look like? Articles should be between 6,000 and 2,000, 600 and 2,000 words. We find the sweet spot for Google is around 1,000, 1,200. You want to have a lot of sections or bullet points or lists that are broken up. Again, because it's easier for people to read them. And at the end of the day, good content makes people come back, but also because that's what the algorithm likes. The algorithm likes to have longer form content, not shorter. Videos, 30 seconds to 10 minutes, but ideally less than 3 minutes because our attention spans are short now. Video is not as hard as you think. We all have our iPhones, we're all used to filming video, but for some reason, when you have to actually talk about a Roth conversion in a 3-minute video, that's where it gets hard. And it's just practice and keeping it natural. Webinars, like we're doing today, if you have a specific topic, I mean, you all joined today because this is a specific topic and you're interested in it. So webinars on taxes, great. Webinars on college planning, great. But they have to be really, really very specific and narrow in focus. And you may need to, because promotion is hard and can be expensive, the more that you can get into a group that you know already has that interest, the more success you're going to have with a webinar. And that means maybe buying a list or partnering up with a CPA or some other center of influence that can help you get into that group. Ebooks and guides, design forward, very tactical, very short. So step-by-step advice, but again, not solving the problem, identifying the problem and pointing back to you as the expert that can really fix the problem. Podcasts, awesome. They're a lot of work to do. They can be a lot of fun, especially if you focus on having guests that are in your community, are known to people that you're targeting, and can be sort of a useful, fun thing. Like the biggest thing about podcasts is we all listen to them because you connect with the podcast person and with the information they're giving, and they are a form of entertainment now. Infographics and data visuals, this is your social, this is content that on your blog, this is a chart, it's a graph, we have a whole section on that. They are a little bit more challenging to get to, but fortunately, there are a lot of things that you can do here. When we mentioned FP Pathfinder, that's a great one. They're awesome with their visuals. There are a lot of providers in the industry that can help with that. So what we see is and especially on your site and on social, videos, perfect. A lot more conversion with videos. Photos, whether it's photos of yourself, photos of your family, photos of stock photos that you're using to build interest, and then carousels where you're telling a story in an image. And that's a great thing to have on your site. It's a great thing for social where you're running through a slideshow because visual connects, and visual that you're telling a story connects even more. Okay, let's move on to distribution. Digital distribution, I think we all kind of get that. Like it is new markets, it is how you build a community. And for us, it's how you humanize your practice. Digital gives you the ability to put yourself front and center. I mean, we've seen it over and over again. TikTok, Instagram, it works for financial advisors too. I've been saying this for a very long time and people didn't believe me 10 years ago. They were like, financial advice will never be on Instagram. Well, guess what? It's here now. It is hard to do that. And it's that thought of keeping your financial practice is about 80% of what you're doing. And the other 20% should be personal and about you. Whether that's you move into a new office and you do an office tour that you film up, or you have a post that is specific or related to something you love to do, like duck hunting, and you're thinking about how that relates to financial advice or your practice. And these are, examples from real life that advisors have done that turn out to be the posts that have the most engagement. It really is making that connection between other people and yourself and using all of these digital tools to bring more humanity into it. Okay, so top of funnel, SEO optimization, videos on YouTube. You want to be on X, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Paid Google ads are harder. It's hard to compete with some of the big players in the game. Local and regional PR, that can be as easy as your little local news magazine or newsletters. These are much easier to get into than you think. And then COI outreach. Middle of the funnel, we talked about lead magnets. Lead gen campaigns, that's like a Facebook lead gen campaign where you use your lead gen asset, like your ebook, and you use it on Facebook so that people are already logged into Facebook. They don't have to give you their email address. You're just gathering it. That's a great, smooth way to do it. Webinars through your email list, direct mail, that still works in some markets, and retargeting ads. So if you have a demo and you want to book, you're going to use a retargeting ad series for that. And then bottom of funnel, your newsletter is key. Everyone should have a newsletter that goes out once a month. You're leading with education. You can have a pillar piece. You can do this on any MailChimp, Constant Contact. Anything has the ability to set up a great looking newsletter. It's just about keeping in touch with both clients and prospects, leading with education. So kind of a market overview is a great pillar piece. And then you can structure it so that every month you highlight a different financial planning topic, or you have a seasonal thing, or you have what's going on in the community. Your newsletter should be short, interesting, but above all, consistent. And one of the things that we say is most people, when they have the need for a financial advisor, they don't wake up in the morning and go, oh, I'm going to, sort this out and get this done today. Something happens that triggers it. And then they go, that guy that sent me the newsletter, I'll call him. It's called keeping yourself kind of top of inbox. And it's really important. Drip campaigns, those are where you take you segment your list, you know what people are interested in, and you send out 1 to 4 emails in sequence. Sequence is there's a little more room for breath than people realize. It's not every couple days. It might be once a week for 3 weeks. And then you go back and you look and see which email did somebody open. If they opened the second one in the series, then you follow on with a targeted email saying, hey, I noticed you were interested in this. Here's a piece of content that relates to this. Is it more time consuming? Yes, it is. I mean, that piece of marketing where paying attention to your email lists and making sure that you're following up on them is a lot more time consuming than kind of what we call spray and pray. You're just sending everything out to your list all the time. What we know from our advisors and from doing this for 5 years, it definitely works better. Client appreciation events, those still work really, really well. And referral programs through a survey is a gentle touch. You can send a survey out through MailChimp that asks a question, like, do you have more questions during this time of volatility? People will respond to you. The second email in the survey is, we're so happy to be able to help you. If you know anyone else that our services could be of use to, please refer them. And you get in the habit of doing it a couple times a year just to keep that referral going. Okay, how do we do this? Well, daily or weekly, you put a new blog piece on your website. Maybe you have a new video episode. You cut it into little social posts and link back to your site. So you have 4 to 8 posts across all channels, right? So if you're on 3 channels, that's going to be 2 posts a week. The Facebook lead gen campaign ongoing for maybe a period of 2 to 3 weeks. And then this to me is the most important one, expanding your networks by following and engaging. They're called social for a reason, because it's not just about you posting, it's about you looking at what's going on with your contacts and then responding to them. And we like to recommend LinkedIn Sales Navigator for this because it gives you a dashboard that allows you to see what everybody you're connected to is doing. It makes it easy to respond. But it's that engagement that tells the algorithm that you are someone that they should be showing your content to more people because you engage with more people, and that's the whole point. Right here is consistency. No matter what you're doing, you will find that if you do it consistently, if you're constantly feeding the algorithm will reward you. And that means at least once a week, 1 to 3 times a week is ideal. Monthly, you want to send out a nurture campaign, educational webinar if you're doing that, or an event, and your monthly newsletter. And then quarterly, portfolio updates, community sponsorships, win-back campaigns, people who fell off at some point in the cycle and you want to reactivate them, and then client appreciation events. How do we do this? Okay, well, social posts go out. Everything is different, every platform, and this is why there are tools like Buffer so that you can figure out what your social post is and then you can schedule it. And you can see there's some variety here between the channels that you're on and the times of day that work. We took the general for this because it gets even more complicated. You can drill down into what are the best for financial services posts. Okay, what does this look like? Well, this is an example from Advisor Lab, which is our podcast. The podcast is something we've been doing for 5 years. We'll take one of our podcasts and then clip it up. We do this on social all the time if you follow our channels. Our posts are usually our host, followed by our guest. We use subtitles. Branding is always present. You can see in this one, we have the Advisor Lab behind Derek. We have the Advisor Lab on the post. And then you're just putting it out on social and making sure that you're engaging with people who engage with you, that you're thanking your guests, that you're saying, this was a great episode, this was why. We always get a transcript of every podcast we do, and we use it to sometimes write a blog. So this one was about donor advised funds. This was an expert in this field. She had great insights. We used it to create a blog. Okay, what do great social posts look like? They're visually attractive. This is a range. We did the Animal Spirits podcast for one of the CION products. This is Here We Are at Schwab Impact. This is our founder. He's speaking at a panel. This is called CION Flash Briefing. We put it together. It's a very brief economic commentary. It's, this is what the Fed did. This is what inflation is. This is what happens. It's a lot of visuals. It's just kind of a fun video. These are snippets, right? This is a template. We created a template and we just swap in and out what the data is. Charts are always great. And this is another snippet from Flash. As you can see, a lot of different things. It's not as time consuming as you think once you create your templates. Okay, measuring, because once you've done all that, how do you know it's working? So brand awareness, what are your page reviews? How are you ranking? What are your impressions? Are you gaining followers? Do you have any press? Engaging prospects, meetings, newsletter signups, and then customer satisfaction surveys, making sure that you're hitting what people want from you. This is kind of know the rules. And then how do you get started? Well, this is for the independent financial advisor, the hardest part because there are a lot of moving pieces and you have businesses to run. So what we recommend is this last thing is time blocking. Set aside between 2 and 10 hours a week, and then just go through all of your goals, figure out what you need, and just kind of deploy, deploy, deploy. I think we're ready for questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Susan. I am always just so fascinated by the world of marketing. I mean, marketing is such an all-encompassing term that where do people even get started? So, I guess the one question that I have, because Q&A right now is a little empty, is say that I am that independent financial advisor. Say that time blocking is really, really hard for me. Where would you even start with that? How, I guess in increments, what should an independent financial advisor focus on first? What would you say?
Um, it depends on where they are in the cycle. So let's take two different examples. Let's take someone who has an existing business and
Hmm.
this is a succession situation. The business has been chugging along nicely. Like, a dad or the person that they've joined has been running this business, but they haven't done any marketing. So there you have an established brand. You maybe have a website. You have some social channels that maybe have been a little neglected, but you have an absolutely established client process. So what I would do there, and this is assuming you're going to keep the same niche, would start by identifying 10 clients and talk to them about what works best for them, where they want to see more of you, if what you are doing resonates or where you need to make some adjustments to just see how your brand works. And then once you kind of have an answer from your existing clients, you can see, is this where we want to be in the future? And if it's not, that's where you know, okay, we're going to pivot. Like our existing clients are coming from retirement. We now want to pivot to a younger generation. How do we attract them? So that's your first step in. Does your website reflect that? Right? Does it need to be refreshed? Are you talking to your niche? Are you saying upfront, this is who we partner with, and these are our success stories. This is what we've done. Case studies are super helpful for that because usually advisors can point to a story. And we had one advisor who had worked with a couple that had retirement plans in like 5 different places.
Hmm.
He had a very his fee structure, like most independent advisors, was flat and was on the higher side because he was attracting clients that he was doing a lot of work for. And so once he looked at all their different plans and consolidated everything for them, he saved them so much money that it wasn't like a performance thing. It was, he just saved them so much money on his fees in the initial round. And that was something that was a great case study to highlight. And again, advisors often say to us, should I highlight my fees on my page? Should I not? And that goes back to, can you make the case for why your fees are as they are? What's the justification for it? And that goes back to, is your website speaking to the person you want to attract? So start there. Who's your client? Are you speaking to them? Have you set your website up so that that works? And are you talking to them in ways that they understand? Once your website's done, move into social media. Are you posting enough? Are you posting as a founder? Like you don't want to post on your business website. You want to post as yourself, connect with people, and then repost on your business website. Are you doing an email? Are you doing it consistently? What we find a lot with advisors is the marketing ebbs and flows as the business ebbs and flows. So in times when things are really rocky, when you need to be out actually connecting with people, it's harder to because markets are going crazy. And so that's when you really need to have that consistency of, I do a newsletter every month. This is my email segment that I'm doing this month. So it's sort of, that's where the marketing plan comes in.
Hmm.
Spending time to just say, this is my plan. I'm going to do these 6 emails This is my sequence. It's just going to roll. I'm going to set it up. It's going to be automated. Out the door it goes. That kind of stuff where you're breaking it down into blocks, website, emails, social media. You're figuring out what you want to do, and then you just use the tools to set it up and make it automated so you can't forget about it.
Hmm. That's great. And I love that you keep highlighting how important it is to have a niche. That's just another thing that we share in common, right? The niche is just so important to differentiate between other folks in the industry as well. So I personally love that as well. Cool.
We see that too. Like even advisors that come to us and like, oh no, I'm a generalist. And it's sort of, I think a lot of that response is I don't want to leave money on the table. I
Mhm.
don't want to exclude anyone. And as they get more comfortable with their value proposition and they start to get their marketing in place, really niching down and seeing, oh no, this is working, that I'm speaking to people I want to work with. And for us, that's the other question that we ask advisors a lot. And I'm sure everybody's heard that is like, fire 10% of your clients every year. I don't necessarily agree with that, but the idea of thinking about it carefully and thinking, who do I enjoy working with the most? And always moving in that direction. And whether that is, that often tells you what your niche should be. And it might not, we spoke with an advisor recently who had moved states. And as we were discussing it with him, he changed his niche completely. Because once I started talking to him, I'm like, you're telling me all these things that you're enjoying about your new state and the town that you live in and who you like talking to, but your website is not talking to that at all. And that made him realize he really was ready to change his niche. And it is important like that. You're going to spend years working with people. It's important to know that your goals are aligned and you enjoy doing it.
Hmm. Oh, totally. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. There are a couple of Q&A questions that are just dripping through, which is awesome. Bruce asks first, do you suggest being on Blue Sky now as an alternative to X?
I don't, that's really the things that we know work best, broadly speaking, LinkedIn for everyone, Facebook for most people. Whether you think it's X or it's Blue Sky or whatever other platform, or you're just like not, that's not your thing and you're Reddit, right? That's more of can you do you resonate with that audience and can you keep up with the demands of the medium? So for instance, Instagram, if you're not going to be able to post really visually entertaining content and it takes a lot of energy to do that, that's a once in a while thing. Like I'm not answering your question for a reason. It's harder than just the data of this is how many subscribers are here and you should make this switch. It's more about who do you connect with that you know is going to that platform and can you keep up with the demands of whatever the platform is.
Hmm. Yeah, I was just about to say, I think that meeting where the clients are or the prospects are, that was one of the things that you really highlighted there too. Um, so I'm glad that I wasn't off base with that too. Cool. The second question, what are the packages that Advisor.io has available if just getting started with marketing but has an existing business?
We are unique in that we only have the one package. We just basically our subscription rate is $75 a month. That includes every single article of content on our platform, as many downloads as you want, and coaching with us. And there's a live chat. There's you can book a 15-minute Calendly with us. And we took this from XYPN at the suggestion of one of your members. We have a monthly office hour where everybody can join. So I would say if you wanted to join us, avail yourself of the ability to have the live chat and start by coming in and saying, this is what I want to do. Help me set up my plan. We're here for that. We're happy to help you do that. And then as you move through it, just keep kind of reaching out to us or pinging us on the live chat. We're here to help.
Amazing. And I'll pause for just a second. So I will drop in a demo link. So if you're interested in Advisor IO, then you are more than welcome to schedule a demo, really get a little bit more insight into the platform itself. And then, as Susan mentioned, you can join the office hours that are offered for XYPN members as well. So that will be available to you if you are an XYPN member. All right.
Sarah,
The
did you
next,
tell us the XYPN? We have a enterprise relationship with XYPN. We have had for years, and you all have a unique situation that we don't offer to anyone else. So you have 3 months free and a 20% discount off the subscription, the monthly subscription price.
Amazing. Thank you for calling that out. Yes, there is a exclusive discount through XYPN membership on the Advisor IO platform. And if you are an XYPN member, then you can go to your member benefit, the member portal, and sign up or schedule a demo to really see if this is, if you're interested in signing up. Any of that is available and accessible to you. Okay. The next question, could you talk more about creating and implementing drip campaigns for prospects who have dropped off?
Yes. Depending on where they dropped off in the cycle, right? If you know a little bit more about them, it gets a little easier because you kind of know who they are and you can come back to it and be like, hey, you're interested in this. Here's a recent piece that I thought would catch your attention and set up a drip campaign around that. Because they dropped off in the cycle, you want to be sensitive to not overwhelming them because you don't want them to just block you. So you want to send out something that is very neutral, very educational. I just thought you might be interested in this, and then let it breathe, and then maybe go back out to them. And you're always driving to set up a meeting, always have your call to action in your emails so they can come to you, but it's always leading with that, we were speaking, is there anything I can help you with your issue? How can we move forward? Things like that. It's a little bit different than just your straight nurture for someone you haven't spoken to before because you have had that initial conversation. They know who you are, and you just want to be able to leverage that into hopefully now they're at the right time, right? Like you don't know why they dropped off. If you were far enough down the road and you can ask that question, that's always helpful, but they might not have been just ready to move forward with anything at that point.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good call. What are the typical stages, I guess, that you've seen in the funnel? Um,
I mean, how long
just
does it last or
yeah, yeah, in the drip campaign.
specifically for an email drip campaign, that is so, that's why they're called kind of drip campaigns, is because they can take a while. And it's kind of the call of, are you not getting a response? And you want to put this person like on the back burner because you don't want to overwhelm them. And you want to kind of keep your drip campaigns with people that are at least engaging with some of your emails. That's one reason why we say segment them, make sure that you know who you're speaking to and what the history there is. In terms of like top of the funnel, this is why we always focus on digital, is because it's very eye-catching and that draws people in and that gets them into your kind of that middle funnel part, which that can go on for a while. And for you, it's how much effort am I putting in here? So organize my thoughts. You're going to put creation effort into your very eye-catching assets at the top of your funnel because that's what's going to lure people into your site, introduce them to you, and hopefully get them to the middle of your funnel. In the middle of your funnel, that's when you want to have more automation because you don't want to spend time on people who are never coming out of the middle of that funnel. You want to give them that chance to be in there and do enough with them. And then if it's not working, move them out because you want people that are going to be in that bottom of the funnel, which is really they're buying. So top of the funnel, creation energy, middle of the funnel, manage your energy, and focus on bottom of the funnel.
Mm. Thank you for that. That was my question. And going through the rest of the Q&A, how do you determine the exact platforms that make the most sense for a firm at each level of the funnel? For example, which top of funnel activities make sense for different firms? How to evaluate without trying to do everything all at once?
I mean, different firms meaning different state life stages. I mean, it's kind of the same thing, whether you're a new firm just starting out or you are kind of changing the focus of an existing firm. That top of the funnel really is introducing brand, value prop, and really eye-catching assets that explain what you do. It's a lot of helping people get to know you in ways that lure them in. So channels there are video on your website, video on social, lead gen ads, things like that, that you're very eye-catching. In the middle part, depending on what firm you have and where you're going with it, that's where you do different kinds of if you have a specific expertise in something and you want to showcase that in an ebook, that would be kind of middle of the funnel because now they're engaging with you and your services. So in that instance, if you focus a lot on stock options and for younger people, that's your ebook. That's where you want to showcase what you do and how good you are at it. Did that answer the question?
I believe so. Yvonne, if there was something else that you were hoping to get, and if you're still on this call, then feel free to drop another question in the Q&A, and Susan will be able to clarify anything that you need. And then Thomas asks, can you talk about ROI in Facebook ads, Instagram ads, etc., and what are general expectations?
That is about money. So in Facebook ads, what we generally recommend is use doing a lead gen ad. Don't spend a ton of money on it. To have a budget that's manageable, like I don't know, $400 or $500, and let it run for a couple weeks and see what you get. What we see is anywhere, depending on the lead gen asset you choose, because again, you want to be as specific as possible. You could see what we see is between 12 and 80 leads. And those are, really leads because they're not bots, they're in Facebook, they're signed in, you're getting their emails. Instagram is a whole different story. And we are, honestly still figuring that out and have not created the definitive Instagram playbook because it's really hard. Like the services that you see, and we practice on ourselves. We waste the money on our things so that we know what works and what doesn't before we tell you guys to do it. Um, Mostly with Instagram, if you are committed to that, I would say commit to the platform, the process there, and do things that help people know who you are without having to do the ad strategy right away. I mean, you can boost things, there's stuff you can do, but if you're just getting started on Instagram, don't do it until you're really established and you know what you're doing, because it's very easy to go astray. LinkedIn, we still find, boosting works, newsletters works. LinkedIn is still really solid.
Hmm. Yeah, good tips. I'm going to jump back to Yvonne. Or they, I apologize. Um, I just dropped another question to clarify. So, and to clarify, for my firm, how should I determine which exact channels I should be using at the top of the funnel? For example, should I try to do everything or should I lean into certain channels? How do I evaluate which ones make the most sense for my firm?
That comes down to where your people are. So are they mid-career professionals that are still working and they're going to be on LinkedIn and you want to go all in on that? Are they more on Facebook? Are their Facebook, is what your firm does something that there are Facebook groups or communities that you can be part of? Is it something that you want to do a Facebook ad on? It's hard to answer that question without knowing what your firm does. So I think, again, sorry to be vague about this, but go back to who do you serve? What do you want to do for them? And where do they live? And then lock in on that.
Yeah. No, I think that that's a really fair call, just knowing the vagueness of this. Would this be, just to bring it back to Advisor IO, would this be the type of question that you would be able to answer on, say, one of those group webinars, or would a one-on-one coaching session be better
You
for?
could certainly dive into it on a one-on-one coaching session and just understand what you're trying to get at and try and help you understand where you want to be and what kind of assets you want to create that'll work.
Okay.
And like, just to be clear, we can advise. A lot of confusion because I know it's hard for advisors. We don't create marketing strategies, but we certainly can, help you get there. And we can, if you're hiring somebody local that's going to do it for you, we can certainly work with that person. But like there's so much out in the marketplace and there are so many different ways to get at this. And there's a lot of confusion as to what people do and how much of it. And Advisor IO's whole value prop is around, we want to help the independent financial advisor get as far along as they can with our content and our coaching, but we don't jump in and do it for you.
Mhm. Can you elaborate on what the guts of a survey would be in a succession scenario?
Ooh, that's a fun one. So depends on if you're changing the focus of the firm or not. So first you want to find out what's working, how long they've been there, what they like the most, and then you want to kind of craft questions that lead into where you want to go and see what the answers are. So are you picking up their kids? What are their kids' problems? What are the problems they're having? Are they worried about estate planning? Do they have any issues in estate planning that you need to address? Are they what does their philanthropic outlook look like? Like who's going to get their money when they go, if that's what you want to do. If what you want to do is shift the focus radically, that survey can lead you into other things, but it's not going to be as helpful.
Great. We have a couple more questions, which is great because we're rounding the around the close to the end. So I'm very excited that we're able to get through all of this. Bruce has asked how to niche when their focus is responsible impact investment and financial planning. What's happened is they're well known and sought out, but the clients with values alignment can come from any industry, from the tech world to being a doctor, from inheritor to retired person. It makes it hard to focus on becoming an expert in any one category. So, what would you recommend?
I would lean into that. And instead of trying to focus on any one category, I would focus on how that is possible no matter where you come from, right? That you have expertise in this specific area that applies broadly across all. So don't try and play, you can do this for anyone, but instead focus on how you can implement values that matter because you understand really well how the investment world works with regard to that. And that's about it, whether it's ESG, whether it's corporate governance, whatever you're focusing in on and hit those points because you want them to resonate across. So for instance, you want to hit points that are general enough that showcase your expertise that will resonate across, but that also allow people to make that movement towards you on their own without you having to say, okay, for tech people, it's this, or for doctors, it's that. Because basically, and we're using tech and doctors, those happen to be two really similar. They are generally people who have higher levels of education and so tend to do their own research and be more interested in the outcome of research. So that, like that, hitting that, find the similarities across everyone. Don't try to be, for this person it's this or for this person it's that.
Hmm. Yeah, Bruce came back and said with clients from everywhere, he's finding it very difficult to streamline and make the practice efficient. So is there I'm hearing that you're hitting this similarities piece and leaning into not just focusing on one category, but then how can he make it more streamlined and make the practice efficient?
From the standpoint of like what you're sending out as a newsletter, from the standpoint of how you're relating to clients. I mean, that kind of, you don't want to have different verticals. I think what he's saying is like, are you trying to write across everything to please each client? Or are you highlighting case studies that apply across all? Like, I'm sorry, Bruce, I don't have enough information to do a good job on your question.
Yeah, Bruce, if you wanna clarify. then by all means, um, let us know. And also, if you are currently working with Advisor.io, then maybe even the group webinar could be a good chance to air it out.
Or
Um,
just hit me up on info@advisor.io and we can
oh,
have a
and
chat. Happy to help if I can understand a little more of what you're trying to get at.
oh, that would be great. Yeah.
So it's
Cool.
advisor.io.co, not .com. Info@advisor.io.co.
.co. That one's a good call out too. All right, so we have a couple more questions. Let's, okay, this one. What about a brand new firm with no book of business? How would you go about maybe even creating a marketing strategy from that or going about your digital marketing?
Well, website first, again, back to get your foundation in order. And then there, COIs are going to be really helpful because you got to pull clients from somewhere, right? So do you have any centers of influence that you can partner up with? Um, Starting something that's attention getting in your community, like that's kind of the podcast thing or the video series where you talk to people who are established. Definitely lead into social media very strongly because you have to start to build your list. So again, LinkedIn Sales Navigator allows you to make connections. They give you 100 connections a week. You're taking third-degree connections and turning them into first-degree connections by just doing a cold reach out. I'd love to be connected. I'm a financial advisor in XYZ. I'd like to be connected. What we find is about 30% of people will just accept the connection request. And then once you're into that connection, then you can kind of reach out and be like, hey, this is what I do. Can I help in any way? Great to be connected, and start building that and then being engaged with people. So that's kind of, you want to consistently using a reach out strategy where you're building connections and then you're engaging with those connections eventually will lead to leads, but mostly it just like builds your connection list, which shows you to more people. And so you want to kind of keep all those things going. That you may need to do kind of a Facebook strategy just to get started, depending on what your budget is and how much money you have to spend. Um, Referrals from people that you know are going to be really critical, that, that's family, friends, other people that you've worked with, that kind of stuff.
Cool. Well, we nearly wrapped up all of the Q&A, but as you mentioned, if there are any questions or anything else that you all need, sorry, I just realized I wasn't on video. Um, I'm so sorry about that, you guys. So if there are any questions that you have that Susan can answer for you after the fact, then feel free to email info@advisorio.co, not .com, .co. And then if you're interested in actually scheduling a demo, as I mentioned before, then there is going to be the link that I'm going to drop and another one, if you are interested in joining XYPN membership and you're not an XYPN member, then please feel free to schedule a call with an XYPN teammate, also link in that chat. And last but not least, as you all leave, there is going to be a feedback survey that we would love if you could fill out. It just helps us provide content that is relevant for you and yeah, allows us to connect with you on a deeper, better level, meet you where you're at as well. But anyways, Susan, thank you so much for your time today for this lovely presentation, super informative, packed filled with all of this information. I hope that you have a good rest of your day and I hope that everybody else on this call does as well. But thank you again, Susan, for your time.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for joining, for great questions, and see y'all in Austin.
Yay! Bye.
Bye.